I didn't hear you, Brandy.
I said I am busy, but not too busy to come to meditation or be in meditation. 1 hour to other 23 hours.
Are you sure?
Yes,
Good.
working on it.
Working on it. That's good. Yeah, sometime. Yes, sometimes people ask me, "Oh, you have never been gone." I have a commitment. When I commit myself, I think I have never. Yeah, Jerry knows. I have never missed a single session. So in between, I go even for vacation, and I come back and I make it sure that I am present. That is very important to me. So, so I was talking to Eon.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
that is how I say. He's from London. We are all from the Earth planet after all. that is that is the perspective of seeker and the meditator. So Eastern wisdom, as I have been telling, repeating again, 3,000, 6,000 years old, 3,000 texts, 3,000 uh, texts are there, and everything is there. We have to gain the knowledge. So I used to say the same thing in New Jersey. So one guy who is a good friend of mine, and he started making fun of me every time I used to attend a session. And he said, "I know what you're going to say, from where you're going to start. But do you see the essence of it? What is the essence? That the same teaching has been repeated in different ways, and still that knowledge is intact. We don't see that importance. It doesn't happen to make fun, but anyhow, this guy who's a good friend of mine, he went into depression. He divorced with one and married again, and then went into depression. And now, recently, last week, he called me. Now I'm out of it. I have realized what you talk about it. This is about delusion. We clearly say that any form of anxiety, stress, duality, conflict, problem in our life is nothing but delusion, because our nature is real self. So in between comes the dispassion. So in this text, three questions were asked: how the dispassion is attained, how the knowledge of the real self is attained. And the moment we have a real self, knowledge of the real self, the freedom comes with it. So goal of meditation and mindfulness is freedom. Freedom from what? Fear, insecurity, anxiety, duality, conflict. Do we really want it? So if we want it, we will be committed. So that is where the Brandy spoke of it. So, in ancient India, we had washermen, and they used to have donkeys. Oh, with the donkeys, they used to visit houses, collect the clothes, used to go to the river, and in the river, they used to wash the clothes, dry up, and late in the evening, they load the clothes on the donkeys and return. That was our washer and dryer in ancient days. Even now, in remote countryside, I'm talking about dispassion, by giving an example. So, 5 donkeys, And one washerman, he collected the clothes, went to a river. So he missed one leash to tie all the donkeys to a tree. Otherwise, they will flee. So he had 4 leashes. He tied 4 donkeys and he was stressed. What should I do? A wise man was passing by. He said, I will tell you the way. So he said, let the donkey look at you and you fake as if you are tying the donkey to a tree. So he faked it and he tied, uh, faking, acting, and he tied that to a tree. And the donkey sat down. He didn't move. So he cleaned all the clothes, dried it, loaded. So he untied the rope of 4 donkeys. Now the fifth, he knew that there is no rope. But the fifth donkey didn't move. He kept sitting there. He didn't move. So it was evening. The wise man again was returning from the same. What happened? No, this donkey doesn't stand up. Now, I told you in the morning that you tied, but there was no rope. No, you have to untie. You have to fake untie. So he faked it, untied it, and donkey stood up. My master used to give me this story. This is what the delusion is. This is what the attachment is. We have hundreds of books on this attachment, identification, craving. Craving. In modern psychology also we talk a lot. Obsession. This is the nature of obsession, for which only the knowledge is required. But if we have a donkey mind, spend hours together, years together. But if we have a dispassion mind, we realize this is what it is, and we are free. So once we have a dispassion, then the journey of meditation begins. Without dispassion, do anything, talk about it, live in present. It will never happen. I lived in present yesterday. I cannot live in present today. Does that make a sense? That is what we talk. That is what we talk. Once you live in present, you always live in present. So, dispassion, how the dispassion is attained. So in this text, the seeker, as you are aware, is a great king. He was ruling the kingdom and he was a seeker. So he knew the basics. So that is why he asked how the dispassion is attained. Here comes our friend Christina. So how the dispassion is attained. Did you understand this? Think of this. Anytime you have anxiety, you don't have dispassion. You have stress, we have donkey mind. Now, with due respect. So understand this. We tie ourselves. In fact, that is not tying. It is the lack of knowledge. Meditation removes the ignorance about my true nature. So we have already understood in the very first chapter of this text, Astavakra Gita, the seeker asks 3 questions. How the dispassion is attained, 1. how the knowledge of the real self is gained, and how the freedom, liberation, awakening, nirvana. So, in the first chapter, this master gave the very nature of the real self. It cannot be tied, it cannot be untied. That is the nature of dispassion. We are already going deeply into these steps to become a seeker on Mondays and Thursdays. Second chapter was focused on, when you are at the highest level of a seeker, you need only understanding, clarity. Do you remember what do you mean by clarity? I've already cleared it in a simple way. What is understanding? So, as a human mind, I can understand that the washerman is faking. In fact, it does not exist, it appears to exist. That knowledge is required to reach to the highest in meditation. So, in the second chapter, the seeker realized this. Third chapter, we have already covered, in which the master teased. What he teased? He teased that, how can you say that? You are ruling the kingdom, you have to punish people who are guilty, you have to manage the finances as Eon is financing. He is very forthright. He said, no, I cannot do anything for you. It's good. So, you see that? So, there is a tradition in the Eastern wisdom. You claim that you have reached to that state. Master says, okay, I will check you whether you have reached to that state or not. So you don't get upset, when the master is checking you. So that checking is also educating whether you continue to live into that state or not, into that state of freedom or not. And there are hundreds of ways. To give one example of my master and other masters, so internally you know that you have a knowledge that now there is a total freedom, but you self-check. How you self-check? That's another totally a different perspective of this journey. You are living your professional life, so you check yourself in your professional life, in your social life, in your family life. But there is another tradition. So my master used to go to a cremation ground. He used to spend he used to say that now I'm going to spend about 3 months there. I'm not going to get out of this cremation. The body is burning, as you know. They burn the dead bodies in India. So he spent about 7 days without any food, and one woman watched him because he came to bury his son. She returned home, she made a food, and she returned to the cremation ground to offer it. So, in a way, I'm not going deeply into that. One day we will talk about this. The existence helps you to survive through different means, even if you don't demand, if you don't desire. That tremendous confidence that you have when you have that state of the freedom. So the third chapter was all the teasers. The master teased, let me check you. But now in the fourth chapter, he's saying, I'm already there. So he is explaining, he is talking, he is communicating. This is my experience. This is my level of awareness. I feel with all humility, and he is communicating to the master, please let me know. Do I need to do anything more? Do I need to do anything more? And that is beautifully explained by another master, Shankaracharya, in one of his teachings, Satasangatve Nisasangatvam. Satasang, company, listening and learning continuously with commitment, with focus, leads to a kind of detachment. Now you know there is no tying and there is no untying. Forget about it. This is all fake. Attachment is all false. Why attachment appears real? Because I'm living in delusion. So that is the first step. He summarizes in 4 steps. The first step, pay attention. Think of it. First, listening and learning from a teacher, and then you are contemplating. You become a thinker. Thinker. We think that whatever the thought comes to my mind, and okay, that is what I am already a thinker. Subconsciously, habitually, the thought comes. That is not being a thinker in this. I think over these principles. Anytime you have a 5-minute break, you start thinking. Why? Because my entire life needs freedom, not a part of the life. I need a freedom in my personal life, professional life, social life, family life, 24/7. That freedom is what is nirvana or enlightenment. So the first step, listening and learning, you become a thinker, then you know, you realize delusion is gone, detachment is there. From the detachment, you reach to a state of dispassion of the mind. Now, what he says, Nisangatve nirmohatvam nirmohatve nischal tattvam. In modern life, we complain, we all complain, my mind is wandering, I'm not able to focus. There is a lack of focus and concentration. We don't go to the root cause of the problem. You have detachment, delusion is gone, your mind is always focused. You need not to worry about anything, that your mind is distracted. It cannot be distracted. There is no reason to be distracted. And that mind, after dispassion and detachment, succeeds in meditation just by listening. That is all about this text. That is all about the teaching. Yes, some people have said that live in present here and now. So now come to the text. So this verse says, what this verse says, who has known this real self is untouched. Untouched by good and bad, likes and dislikes, profit and loss. Eon, profit and loss in finances. Profit and loss, loss or gain, high and low. The mind says they are all part of the delusion. I need not to think of this. The mind remains untouched, untied, because there is no tying. So this is what the seeker is saying, that I am feeling. Mind is claiming likes and dislikes outside, but that remains at a distance. It doesn't touch me. Profit and loss, that doesn't touch me. loss and gain that doesn't touch me, pain and pleasure that does not touch me. Pain and pleasure belongs to the body, mind, and emotions in relationship, but my real nature cannot be touched by that. So why should I do anything? I remain in that present moment. Are you getting it? Tajasya punya papabhyam. He says, no sins and the virtues touch me. Pain and the pleasure touch me. Likes and dislikes touch me because they are perceived by the mind. I am not the mind. Do you remember? No mind is meditation. I'm not the mind. I'm not the mind. So, do we live into that state? Do we think in that state? Do we communicate in that state? We are already there. We are already there. Now, let me explain from the different texts, because every text talks about the same principle differently. I have been telling you. I fell down. I hurt my knee. I used the word I. A close examination reveals that body fell down. The knee was hurt. If I am the body, then I can claim. But when I identify myself with the body, then I fell down, then I have a pain, then it hurt my knees, and then I am suffering. So even in those conditions of life, you are fully aware that you need not to tie yourself fakely with the body. Identification that leads to the delusion, and the delusion leads to the suffering. You see, I have been suffering. Are you getting it? I'm very busy. That is why I did not attend your session. Busy in what? Think of it. You are busy in what? Entering into delusion? Is your busyness also a delusion or not? Do you live into that extraordinary awareness? No, by saying that, I'm not making myself important. Now I'm directing to you. Think of it. Just think. Because that real self cannot be busy. Are you getting it? That cannot be busy. So I understand, but I don't talk about it because you have a big heart. Sometimes you get hurt. So understand this clearly. What is understanding and clarity? I have already defined. Filter out. Experience of profit loss, likes, dislikes, pain, pleasure, high and low, rich and the poor. It all belongs to the mind. I am not the mind. No mind is meditation. I am the real self. That is my nature. This is what the seeker is explaining to the master, and the master is delighted. That's why in the 4th chapter we have hardly 6 or 7 verses. Think of it. What is going to happen in the next chapter? Think of it. Oh, now the journey ends. No. In the 5th chapter, the real journey begins. Real journey begins. That is where the master speaks about it. So I just ask you and request you to think of it. Think, sit down. I'm upset. Think over what it means by being upset, from where being upset has come. It has come from the mind. Who is aware of being upset? That is you. Mind makes you upset is not you. Simple. When we are a seeker, we can realize, we can filter out, and we live into that state of meditation all the time. You worked hard. I will address again you. You worked hard. You planned, you dreamed that you will get a $50,000, but you only got 25,000. What do we think? I lost 25. I made a plan to earn 50,000, but I only gained 25, so I think I lost 25. Are you understanding that? It comes from the mind, not from the real nature. That real self remained as it is. So when we have a clarity and understanding after dispassion, through the knowledge of the Eastern wisdom, the freedom is here and now. So this master advocates, proves that we don't need to do any practice, but still we are doing a practice. You don't need to do any practice, you are already there. So you go back again and again, think, contemplate, reflect, knowledge, understanding, and then only you live in the present moment. Simply saying live in the present. I lived in the present yesterday. Today I cannot live. That is the beauty of this knowledge in the Eastern wisdom. So let us start our journey. Let us start our practice.